to go?
I think so.
Alright, excellent. Andy?
Rob?
Happy Monday morning.
Happy Monday morning to you as well. How was your weekend?
It was great, actually. It was a lot of fun.
Good.
I was telling you before this, went out to a Caps game at the Verizon Center. Haven't been to a Caps game in years, as far as I can remember. It was probably one of the best games I could pick
Nice.
to go to.
Nice.
Down 3-0 with 10 minutes left, and then the Caps, 2-0, and then they came back, scored 3 goals in 10 minutes, and the place was rocking. It was great. A lot of energy.
That's awesome.
A lot of energy. How about you?
That's awesome. It was good. I had a lot of lacrosse this weekend. Coached a tournament up in the Gaithersburg Soccerplex. Beginning of the season tournament for the 6th graders I'm working with. It was their first time playing together, really. So it was a bit of a learning curve at times, but it was good. It was good. Great weather. Got a little sunburned, but it was good.
What kind of the experience that those kids have, with lacrosse? Are you teaching them, what the lines mean, or are you kind of getting into it a little bit more?
These guys, for the most part, have a pretty good understanding. They've either been playing for a while, or they've had siblings who've played. No, we're getting into, setting up a defense, slide packages, how to run clears. They're not just going out there and running around. Well, this Saturday they were because it was the first time playing together. But, we're going to have a playbook by the end of the year. They're going to be running some real offense and real defense. So it's going to be exciting. Cool. Yeah, very cool.
Cool, man.
Before we get too far into this, and I think we have a propensity to kind of jump in because we're those kind of guys. Who are we? What are we doing here?
Oh, all right. So we are the Varsity Strength Geeks.
Varsity Strength Geeks. Yes.
That is us. So we, I guess we dabble in some stuff. We're both coaches at CrossFit Done Right. This is located in North Bethesda. We also work with our high school athletes, strength and conditioning.
Right.
The range is from, I believe, 11 years old up until 18 years old, variety of sports. We kind of mess around with a lot of lacrosse kids. That seems to be the ones we get with the most, but...
it's big around here.
Yeah, huge around here. But we also, we have the baseball players, softball players, soccer players, basketball players,
field
hockey. So we get a nice wide range, diverse athletes coming through. And I know for you do a lot of coaching outside of here with lacrosse as well.
Yeah.
Over at Blair, right?
Over at Blair, and then with performance lacrosse.
Yeah.
Good. Good times. All right. Well, again, we are the Varsity Strength Geeks, and this is our third
podcast.
Third is the best. This is gonna be our best one, I think.
Yeah.
Getting better all the time.
All the time. And some of those videos we're putting together too.
Yeah.
I guess we should mention that real quick.
Yeah. Let's definitely hit on what kind of we're putting out there.
Yeah. So we're putting out some content. We have a couple of different kind of. Hey, Jared.
We have a visitor.
Yeah.
Bye.
Hi, Jared.
Hi.
So we have a couple of different videos that we put together, a couple series. We have our At Our Desk fitness series.
Is it at our desk or at your desk?
It's at your desk. It's not at my desk.
It's not at my desk.
I don't want you to do anything at my desk.
Yeah, right, I know.
Yeah, so at your desk fitness, this is things that you guys can do, or people who are sitting in office all day can do to address tight shoulders, tight hips, any weaknesses that we have. Basically you sit at a desk all day, just refund your joints.
The stress of the modern world.
Exactly. So that's one of them.
Nice. Cool. We're also, of course, you've got your sports performance, high school kids. We're doing some videos for them with the Varsity Strength Geeks.
Yep.
Different kind of fitness ideas. We did that one on ladders and sprinting last week.
That's right.
It's kind of what's been popping into our brain. You and Reva I think during the open are going to be knocking out more of these kind of preview videos.
Yeah, I think people really like that.
What
Just kind of strategy.
Was it good?
You know what? I don't think we got it out
in time.
It was probably about 30 minutes before we started, and I made a nice little announcement. We had a decent amount of people look at it. Didn't hear any feedback from it, but I think if we can get it out a little earlier this time. That's the technical difficulties.
Yeah, it'll happen.
Yeah, and then the last thing we do with is we put videos out for the different coaches in the areas of different sports.
That's the big one. Yeah, there you go.
One of the coaches who works with us, Jay Andrews, with our high school kids, he's the assistant AD over at Einstein. He works in the weight room over there a lot, and it's kind of his idea, that coaches coach their sports. They don't coach their athletes. They don't coach
Right.
stuff in the weight room. And for him, a big part is getting in the weight room, teaching his coaches how to properly address the strength and condition needs of their athletes. And that's something that we've decided to take on as well and start putting out content for the coaches in the area, or just coaches in general who want to learn how to treat their athletes in the weight room so they can get the most out of them.
Cool. Say, let's. I'm gonna toss out a hypothetical here. Say there was a coach in the area who somehow was listening to this and wanted to reach out to us. Through the ether, was able to hear this and wanted to reach out to us and said like, hey, I coach softball. I'm wondering how can I get our girls more explosive in their swings and then that first step when they're running the first base. How might they send us a question for that so we can get some sort of focused response?
Best way now is going to be to contact me, Rob, at CrossFitDoneRight.com. Just send that to me, and then we'll get back to you right away and put together some stuff for you.
Cool. Awesome. And, if you're out there listening and you have some ideas or something that you have a question about, want to get addressed, again, that email, rob@CrossFitDoneRight.com.
Right.
We'd really like to hear what you're thinking, what's giving you some trouble or what you would be excited to see a video on or hear us talk about. Cool.
Sounds good.
We also have a Facebook page. We want to get some love on it.
Yes, Facebook page. You can search for us, CFDR Sports Performance. Pull us up, like the page. We put out a lot of content on there as well. So we would love to see some love from you guys.
Facebook needs to add that. They don't just need like, they need a love.
We do need a love button.
And they need a dislike button. They really do need a dislike button, but
if you like something and then dislike it immediately, or then unlike it immediately after, is that the same thing as disliking?
I don't know. I feel like it should count.
But
whatever. All right, going from this conversation, you have something very heady that you want to get into today.
Yes. Now, before I get into it, I would like to preface that despite the thick-rimmed glasses that I tend to wear on a regular basis, it's all facade. So, despite the thick-rimmed glasses, tortoiseshell, I might add, we are not scientists by any means.
No, we are not. I am a political science major. That is very soft science there.
Yeah, science is a little
general term.
Yeah. So we're not scientists. So getting into the specifics of this is something that is not necessarily that we're going to do, but we're going to break it down in layman terms. And what I'm talking about getting into is this thing called epigenetics. Epigenetics, yeah. And I guess the general way to describe this is there's kind of two different. Epigenetics is the new model of thinking, whereas the old model of thinking was on genes and having basically what you're born with, your genetics, and that's it. You can't change that.
Right.
And so when we see a freak athlete like LeBron James or Kobe Bryant or any of these guys, and we just say these are athletes. They were born with it. They got this lucky break. Right, so that's kind of the old way of thinking. The new way of thinking is this concept of epigenetics, which is basically that the environmental factors, or environmental factors in general, play a huge role in flicking the switch on and off for your genes. So, what you eat, how you exercise, things like that. It could probably be applicable to your mindset as well, who you surround yourself with. These are things that can be changed with the right environmental factors. So now you and us and everybody as athletes are not pigeonholed into this, who are your parents, who are you born with? I'm not going to say it doesn't play a role, but at the same time, you have more control over what you can do to make yourself a better athlete, to make yourself a smarter individual. And this is applicable to a lot of other things in life outside of the realm of sports. We're going to probably stick to sports in general just because that's what we do, but it is very applicable to life in general.
Oh, definitely. And I think this is a very liberating sort of kind of discovery in the last couple of years. I mean, the human genome has only been it's only been the last decade or so that we've really been able to break it down and understand what's going on there. Then epigenetics is, from what I've kind of read and seen in these last kind of 24 hours since you dropped the idea on me, and I've been like, oh man, I got to read up on this. It really does seem to be a new and very exciting field or subfield within genetics, and it makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways. I was reading an article talking about how the kind of tenets of this were almost proposed pre-Darwin. When we talk about kind of how one generation can do something, can create a behavior that is so altering and so important that it is, we think of it as a learned behavior, but they're in fact changing kind of their genetic makeup, and that can be passed down to generations. That was something that I was reading today.
Yes.
I found really exciting. Say that you are doing something physically, it seems one of the big effects seems to be metabolism.
Yep.
That increasing your fitness level, increasing just kind of your athletic potential seems to have a pretty good effect on speeding up your metabolism.
Mm-hmm.
I know it had that effect on me. My metabolism is very different than when I was younger, before I was kind of doing a lot of the CrossFit stuff.
Yep.
But what they're suggesting is that if you kind of change that factor, that genetic factor for yourself, there seems to be a pretty significant chance that it might be changed for your offspring as well, that will be written into their DNA, that will be their starting off point.
Exactly, and it's good that you said starting off point, because they can by all means go through and mess that up terribly.
Oh, absolutely.
With their
absolutely.
habits. And it's funny that you bring that up to begin with, because the whole conversation that got me thinking that we should talk about this had to do with one of our coaches, actually the owner here at CrossFit Done Right, Justin, is going to have a kid soon. Well, not soon, but in the next 6 months or so.
Awful talk.
And we were he was talking about how, just making a joke that, his kid was going to be this athlete and stuff. And so so we started talking about, his wife better, start feeding this kid like he's a plant trying to grow, and better be, making sure that she keeps all the Oreos and all the crap out of her diet, because that's going to play a huge role in making his kid an all-star and allowing him to retire at 40. And
right, of course.
Or not 40, I guess it'd be like 55.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So it's funny that you brought that up, because that is true, and I think it's, and this is kind of off topic just a second, but I think it's the parents. It's tough to kind of realize how big of a role that you take in kind of making your kid, and you can just, it's really really easy to go back to it's the genetics. My grandfather, my great grandfather had this. Right. And it's something that's tough to change.
And I mean, it's so much that this gets down to that age-old dilemma that is going to be argued both in the hard sciences and in the social sciences forever, is nature versus nurture.
Yep, of course.
And it very much is, as we move forward, it's becoming very clear that there's not one answer. It's not nature or nurture. It's both. Your nature, excuse me, your nature might say that you're going to be have a slow metabolism, not have a lot of athletic potential. But if you are nurtured in a way that fosters, some changes in that coding, there's the potential for some greatness in there.
Yep, definitely. And I don't even think it's necessarily, greatness per se, and greatness is going to be relative.
It's subjective, yes.
Yeah, so, but we all have the potential. We might not become bodybuilders, or none of us will ever, or majority of us won't ever have a 40-inch vertical, but the ceiling is a lot higher for us, and it can be lifted. It's a lot higher than people think. So, is it capable for the majority of people to get below 15% body fat or approach 10% body fat? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. With the right factors going on, the right environment that you're in, the right people around you, there's a lot of different things that come into play with it. But the potential is there if you can tweak those things and get those things done right.
And that's when when we think about kind of creating these better, athletes, better humanoids, better whatever. That's kind of where the support system comes in. You need the foundation of it helps to have a healthy home. There's so many studies that say if you have an overweight family member, you're far more likely to be overweight yourself.
Yes.
It helps at school if you are getting, positive teachers who reinforce you in a positive yet challenging way, coaches who are
friends you surround yourself
with. Yeah, exactly. It all feeds in. And actually, talking about school, that gets me to this whole idea of there's been a lot made of some people are good at math and some people aren't. That there's genetic kind of intelligence things, and this goes down that very dark, awful hole of kind of eugenics. I forget what the exact term is. but just kind of that there are certain groups that are like better than others in terms of intelligence.
Yeah.
And that's been really kind of shown recently that no, it's just kind of how we deal with our education system, that everyone can be good at math. I'm not very strong in math, but I used to kind of say when I was younger, no, I just suck at math, I'm just not good for it, I don't have a head for it. But really, I didn't put the effort in there, and I didn't work at math in the same way that I worked at history or I worked at geography, because I found those more interesting.
Right.
And a lot of that, I think, has to go with kind of our teaching programs and the way that, at least in Montgomery County, we divide things up early into kind of GT, mainline, kids who need help.
Right. And
you do that in schools,
yeah.
And the kids who kind of start off with GT, they're going to be the ones getting the extra assistance, they're the ones who are going to get the extra challenge because they've shown that early spark early on. It's the same with sports. If a kid comes out and, has one game when they're 6 on a basketball court and they show something that is a little bit above the ordinary, they might have coaches gleam onto them and they might get just kind of fostered through this system that pushes them along the line towards greatness. It's not that other kids on the court didn't have that same potential, it's just that it wasn't shown there and then it wasn't nurtured.
Exactly. And this goes back to, you've seen The Wire. I know you've seen The Wire, right?
Oh, I've seen The Wire.
Love it. So season 4, when they're all in the educational system, right? And they talk about tracking the kids.
Yeah, best season.
Yeah, by far. If you guys haven't seen The Wire, please go watch it. It'll take maybe, if you watch like 7 episodes a day, it'd probably take you like 2 weeks to get through. So
2 weeks. You can do it in 3 days. Just don't sleep, don't eat. Just
it's worth it. It's worth it. But they have this whole concept, and they're worried about tracking the kids down.
Right.
But what we do, on an everyday basis, we track kids up. So we take the kids who show just a tiny glimmer, and we push them into exactly like what you were saying. We push them into basically the smart group for the math, or we push them into the A team versus the B team, and all of a sudden they get the better coaching, they get the better teachers, they get the better resources, and that just starts separating them, and then the gap just keeps widening and widening and widening because they're getting the better stuff, and everybody's telling them that they're good and they're better, and this is what they excel at, and this is what they're natural at. You were born to be a basketball player. You were born to do math, right? Versus these kids who aren't getting the resources. They're saying, you guys aren't good enough. And so they, and that's the kind of the view that they take on themselves.
I heard Neil deGrasse Tyson in an interview last week on Fresh Air. Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's kind of the rock star astrophysicist right now, he's just got a new TV show on Fox, Cosmos, bringing back Carl Sagan.
I just want to do this real quick. Just hashtag nerd alert.
Hashtag nerd alert. Yeah, no, but Neil deGrasse Tyson is like a cool dude.
Let me reiterate again. Hashtag nerd alert.
Well, he was like a big time like wrestler. Like in high school, like by always a great athlete, and he talks about like people are always saying, well, you should go and you should be a wrestler. You should do this. You have that, like, he's a big, athletic black guy. And so when he was saying, I want to do astrophysics, people are like, why? You're a wrestler, man. Be an athlete. And he kind of rejected that norm, those expectations. And then what he got into saying was that, we have this kind of divide sometimes that when someone is kind of a talented athlete, we talk about like LeBron James, or he brings up the example of Michael Jordan. We talk about how these guys are natural talents. But when we bring up someone like Larry Bird, we talk about how a hard worker he was.
Right.
And the fact is that in both sides, in Larry Bird and Michael Jordan, both were equally hard workers, and both were equally naturally talented.
Yep.
There might be some differences in different skill sets, perhaps, but a lot of that is where one put the focus in and where one had like limitations. It's just kind of a mindset of, are we seeing our abilities as a product of who we are or what we do?
Right.
And I think it's going to come to a point where we have to realize we have this goal set out. I'm already up to this level A with where I am with my genetic makeup, where I am with kind of what we'd call raw athletic talent, and then you need to fill in that rest of that gap with your work and the kind of the work you put in. And for certain people, that's going to be different levels. But to get to the elite level, you're going to have to put in a lot of work, and you're going to have something on your side as well, kind of genetically, or that you're able to, or if you're able to change it, you're going to have to change it in a big way.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if you just look, reach deep enough, even so, when I was, going in playing in college, there were some of the guys who they didn't work hard. Right. But they were naturally athletic, right? That's what we say.
Yeah.
But I think if you reach back, far enough, you can kind of see, these were the guys that, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, they're playing with their older brothers, or they're playing with other kids in the neighborhood, and they're getting the hours in on the court, and they put kind of the work ahead of time, and so they were able to kind of, coast on the later side of it, and, the hard work that they didn't put in eventually cost them in terms of maybe some playing time or maybe going on to the next level. But the hard work was done at some point, and you can kind of make that case. People, again, we're going to get off topic a little bit, but say, you have somebody who's an entrepreneur at a young age, but these are the people who were, setting up lemonade stands when they were 5 or 6, and they've been selling stuff and figuring out how to do that their whole life. And so this kind of overnight success, overnight phenomena thing isn't really an overnight success, overnight phenomena. The work has been put in, but you just don't see it being done.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I find really frustrating a lot of the times is that we look at these people who we are envious of on an athletic standpoint or in the school setting or in the business world. And we're like, man, they just got it so easy, It's like if I had his height or if I had his skill or if I had, his parents or something like that, I could be there too.
Yeah.
But the fact is, for every 6'8" guy there is in the NBA, there are guys who are taller.
Yeah.
For every person who can run a 4.5 at the NFL Combine, there's someone who's faster. For every millionaire who made their million at 23, there's someone who made more at a younger age.
Right.
There's always kind of that next step up, and you don't know what those stories are. And a lot of times, there are people who have gotten that by purely kind of grinding it out, by working hard, by overcoming, whether it's their genetic odds or their sociological odds, the kind of community they were raised in, whether they didn't have supporting families or they had over-supportive families, which I think are just as detrimental at times.
Yeah, definitely.
Education, the same way as if they didn't go to a nurturing school or they went to a school that told them that they were the best the entire time. It's finding that balance is difficult.
I think the big takeaway, though, and what should give hope to everyone listening is that if you're willing to put in the work, and it might not just necessarily be about working hard, but also working smart.
Right.
But if you're willing to do that, you can make up for this lost ground, and you can close the gap, and you can surpass anybody in your field or anybody in your sport who you're willing to work harder and smarter than at the same time. So it gives hope to those people who've been told their whole lives, you just don't have what it takes. And you say, no, F you, right? I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna work harder, and I'm gonna find different ways that I can overcome.
Absolutely, and I think that's pretty evident in a lot of the success stories we see out there. It's a lot of the times it's these people who have put it in their mind that they have a goal in mind, and they're gonna do whatever it takes to get there.
Yeah, and just a little tip for everyone listening. Don't look at the best person in your field and mimic them. Find the person who is in a similar situation, who was in a similar situation than you starting out.
Right. And
mimic what they did. Right? That's a good starting point, right? Don't take what LeBron James is doing now in his training. Right? Mm-hmm. Take what somebody who is, maybe a step or two down in athleticism, who maybe started out at a place more similar to you. Because LeBron James is always, since he was a young age, has had more resources than the majority of us will have.
Right.
He was an NBA prospect when
he was 12.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I don't know about any of you guys, but I'm pretty sure you guys aren't NBA prospects.
I got a couple looks when I was playing Tacoma Park Rec League.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when I was 6, 7. Yeah, I was the Dennis Rodman of the Pee Wee League 1 year.
This
was my
this
award.
Kid could be something.
I brought down rebounds. I colored my hair in crazy ways. I wore wedding dresses all over the place.
So it wasn't necessarily just the on-court performance.
No, it was all around Dennis Rodman.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. The worm.
It's starting to explain a lot of things, Andy.
Oh yeah, it goes back.
All right, you know what? We just did a fantastic job with that. I think that was really good. I think we stepped our game up so much, just from podcast to podcast to podcast.
Woo!
And I really just wanted to brag right there. That's kind of all.
I'm cool with that. I'm okay with like self-complimenting moments on the show. You know, patting ourselves on the back. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, we deserve that.
Yeah, and if you're listening, you want to tell us that we deserve that or we don't deserve it. Well, tell us that we deserve it or don't. Again, hit us up. Let us know.
Yep, definitely.
For sure. We have some other stuff to get onto today, though.
We do.
All right, so we've got a couple of things that I have in mind. We can talk about this 7 overtime hockey game in Ohio, which is wild, and there's a funny little caveat to that as well. We can talk about some little fun games that we can play or not enough people play that I think add a lot to different athletes' games that you might not think about. So things that transfer from what we normally consider fun goofing around to, hey, this can actually help you on the field. And also, I have a actual game for us to play, or for you to play, that I'm calling Game Changer.
Okay, yes. I'm excited about this.
So we can do it in any order you want. What do you think?
Let's talk. I want to hear what the caveat is for the 7 overtime hockey game. So let's talk about that first.
Cool. So the 7 overtime hockey game, it was a state championship in Ohio. It was St. Ignatius versus Sylvian Northview. I don't know either of those names. But
I really know where Ohio is.
It was a 1-1 tie after 7 overtimes. That's a long game.
Yeah.
So what apparently happened was the teams come out for what would be the 8th overtime, and the refs come up and say, no, we can't allow this to go on because of player safety. They're worried the exhaustion, the adding up the hits after hits after hits. It just wasn't going to be...
I don't want to ruin the story, but just the first thing that pops into my mind is why didn't they have a shootout?
So I have stories about that. Shootouts have been eliminated in a lot of areas because it leads to such traumatic emotional reactions. There was an incident here in Maryland a couple years back, I think when I was in high school, where after a shootout in the state championship, someone, either I believe actually committed suicide. So wow, I put that in a dark place.
Yikes.
But so that's why they're going away for it at high school levels, just because these are kids who are high school. You're not the most emotionally stable in high school, and so it's just so much. It's a lot of pressure to deal with, and I think that's one of the reasons they're moving away from it. But yeah, I've had the same thought.
Okay.
What's great, my little caveat is I saw a video of this last night, and audio podcast, you just have to use this or look it up yourself. But so one of these teams will come out to shake hands at the end of the game, as hockey teams do, and both teams look about as pissed can be. They both understand, yeah, we get the rings, yeah, we get the trophy, yeah, we get to say we're champions, but neither of us won. We're both losers. And I think that's just awesome. That all the kids were just so wanted to play, just wanted to keep going, wanted to keep battling. Gotta love hockey players, man, at any age. They got their own lingo, they all sound kind of Canadian, and calling each other hosers and whatnot. But they just obviously wanted to keep on going, keep on fighting through it.
I can't blame them. I would be livid at that situation.
Absolutely. And actually, I want to use that into our caveat into Game Changer.
Okay.
So Game Changer, I think this is. I'm going to pose a question to you, and you're going to have to decide, which is better, which is worse, which you would want, what you would pick in this situation. And today, I think the Game Changer for today is which is worse. So here's the first one: an overtime loss in the championship, or getting blown out in the championship. Which is worse?
Ooh, getting blown out in the championship, most definitely, because that's happened to me before, and it's just embarrassing. Mm-hmm. There's so many things that you could do better. You come look back to and say I could have done better, mm-hmm. versus we say losing by 1 in overtime.
Yeah,
losing by 1 in overtime. That actually happened in the semifinals to me in high school, and it was just like, man, we put it all out there. There's nothing more that we could have done. It's maybe one thing here or there, but could have the same thing. Missed free throw by them, it would have been a different game. And it's still devastating, but you can rationalize it much easier. Most definitely.
Awesome. So blowout, that's worse.
Blowout,
all right.
By far worse.
So everyone knows if this discussion ever comes up again, now you know. All right. Second question: missing a penalty shot or missing the save on a penalty shot. You can take this to hockey, you can take this to soccer. I'm trying to think what else has kind of happened.
I think missing the penalty shot, because I think the offense always has the advantage over the defense in any situation. So it's more devastating to just blow it wide right versus just missing it. The kicker puts a good spin on it, or the shot is just in the right hole, and you just can't. Sometimes there's nothing you can do about it, but a lot of the times, again, offense always has the advantage.
That's why I think huge saves in, especially in soccer, big save on a penalty kick is so awesome.
Right, and you think about it too. If you have a shootout, it's like 4 to 5. It's not like 1 to 1.
Right.
So.
Cool. The next one, kind of along that side, missing an open net goal or dropping an easy pop fly. Which is more embarrassing? Which is worse?
Oh man. Let's go with it's more embarrassing to miss an open net shot.
Okay.
Because just as I'm gonna say, you can let's say I'm gonna blame the light. Oh, the sun got in my eyes when I was about to catch it. You don't really have that excuse when you have an open net shot. It's kind of just like, oh man, I blew it.
See, I disagree with you on that one. I think dropping an easy pop fly is worse, and it's a couple of reasons. One, it has the whole bad news bears sort of thing. Everyone's just going to be making fun of you like you're a little kid. Two, I think because baseball and softball are kind of slower sports, and that's like building up to this great climactic moment when the ball hits the mitt. To drop it and fumble it is this just absolute horrific tragedy, cacophonous tragedy of actions, and then you have to go through the fumbling around. Where's the ball? Where's the ball? You look like a fool. Then you have to just stand there in the outfield, just by yourself. Everybody knowing it was all your fault. And I think in a game, it's you just missed a shot, but you're gonna get the ball back, or you're gonna get the puck back, and it's gonna keep going. Yeah, it's a horrible embarrassment.
Wow. See, I don't know.
But it's over again.
Well, I was thinking like in something like soccer or hockey. Like, goals are very hard to come by, so you miss it. You're like, oh man, like that. We might never get that opportunity again.
Right.
In basketball, you miss a wide open layup, which I've done numerous times before, and it's embarrassing. But you can get right back into it, and you get back in the flow of things, and people are gonna make fun of you for it. But you get over it, and you get out, and you get other chances. You get other chances. I would say in baseball or softball, the most embarrassing thing is when you and your teammate are both like, I got it,
and then
neither of you gets it, and the ball drops in there. I think
that is embarrassing.
That's
pretty bad. That is pretty bad.
So I'm going with option C in this case.
Ooh, I like it.
C.
Option C.
Yeah.
When both people fail to get the pop fly, that is bad.
2 fails is worse than 1 fail.
I like it. Last one for today. Is it worse to be a star of a bad team or a nobody on a good team?
Ooh, man.
Now we're getting into like the ego. This is big.
Oh man.
What would Freud say about this?
Well, this is the the Robert Horry dilemma, is what we'll call it. Robert Horry, I believe, has, and don't quote me on this, but I believe he has more championships than Michael Jordan.
I would believe it. Yeah.
And yet Robert Horry has been asked, if you could give away all of your championship rings to be the best player, to win a couple MVPs, but never won a championship, would you take it? And I believe he said in a heartbeat, he would rather be the best player on a team than have all of his championship rings. And Robert Horry is not necessarily a nobody. Like, I'm sitting here talking about him, and he's hit some big shots, big shot Bob.
Mm-hmm.
He's hit some big shots in his career, but he'd still rather be the guy, the go-to, the man.
See, I think you asked that question to Karl Malone or Charles Barkley, and they give you the exact opposite.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think so?
I think they were stars. I mean, they had played for some good teams, but they never kind of, this is getting to the championship question, I guess, but they never won the
they all got there, though.
They all got there, but that'll always be the dig against those two, especially that. While they'll never be, the top 5. That's we talk about Bill Simmons' book of basketball, like this great, the kind of the Bible of basketball right now, the definitive work on it, at least in the NBA and ABA. That's the dig against those guys, is that they never won it. Against always the guys who are at the top are going to be the guys who were not only stars, but were stars on great teams, or stars on great teams that won.
Yeah.
So,
I guess it's always going to be you want what you don't have.
Yeah, of course, always. I mean,
so for me, I would go with either because I don't have the rings and not the best player on the team.
Oh man!
So either would be good for me right now, and then I'll make that decision.
I played for a team that in high school that had a perfect record. We went 0-10. Yeah, like I sent that in. Yeah, you're thinking,
That's
wow, nice.
Exam, okay.
And I started every game, was captain, and it was awful. It was absolutely brutal. Having to go out and giving it, everything you have every game, and just nothing for it. And then in college, I played for a team that was pretty good and ended up in lacrosse, ended up beating a highly ranked team, a big upset. But shoot, the coach barely knew my name. And I have to say, that was a lot worse.
Oh, yeah?
It was fun being with the guys and everything, but I'm just such a competitive person. I mean, I had to kind of humble myself and see, it is the team that matters the most. But I think for the ego, that hurt a lot. But I think once, for at least my immature mindset, that would hurt a lot more. I think later on I was able to figure out, oh yeah, the team, it's always got to be team, always got to be the team. Whatever I have to do, if it means sitting on the bench for us to be good, shoot, I'll sit.
Being the best player on an 0-10 team kind of makes me think you probably weren't that good.
Oh, no.
You as a player,
I mean,
probably weren't that good.
I played tight end on offense, so I wasn't having a big role, but I was a pretty good linebacker that year. Had some, led the team with tackles, but, when you're getting double teamed by guards who are,
if you're the first team, All-American, right, your team is not going 0-10. That's all I'm saying.
I'm trying to think who the equivalent is of this, in actual sports right now. If is any Michael Carter Williams could be really, really good, but the 76ers are brutal.
Yeah, but he's not a first team. Is he maybe a second team All NBA? I don't even know if he went to. Did he go to the All Star game?
Yeah, he was in the freshman team. Reva's in here telling us that he's not that good.
Exactly.
He's gonna be.
That's why the 76ers are basement this year.
Yeah, it's true. Tank. Oh, Jabari. Cool. All right. Well, that's game changer. We're gonna try to. I want to bring that in more. Some quandaries for us. If you have any idea for game changer, let us know.
Yeah, we'll have to think of some more.
Yeah. Send some questions to us.
Well, maybe if we actually get a caller.
Wouldn't that be cool? That's one of my goals. How can I switch up my train to improve my ability to get callers on the show? Is that a genetic factor? Ability to get people to call into your podcast?
It's something you can overcome.
Okay, cool,
something
awesome.
That if you're willing to put the work in and work smart.
I believe.
You believe. Yep.
Cool. Last thing for today was games that have an impact on sports. So what I was thinking about, I had a bunch of friends in college who played Ultimate Frisbee.
Okay.
And a lot of us who don't play Ultimate Frisbee and don't take it seriously, which Ultimate Frisbee players do. They take it very seriously.
Yes, they do.
We consider kind of tossed around a Frisbee a game. You know? We just kind of having fun goofing around with your friends. But I don't know if you've ever played seriously. It is a hard freaking sport, man.
I've never played.
And get into and I think for football players, especially kind of defensive back types or basketball players, it's probably a really great kind of thing to play because it gets you going up and down the field. You're having to kind of judge trajectories. You have to time your jumps. Work on really reaching the apex of your jumps. It's a lot of cutting. It's a lot of diving. It's a really kind of athletic thing. So thinking about that got me thinking about some other things. Dodgeball and tag.
Okay.
Games that have some impacts on sports.
I like tag. I like that. I mean, I think it's going to be very hard to convince a bunch of high schoolers, college kids, to go out and play tag. But the cutting, and the short bursts, right? those things are definitely something that you can see.
Right. Well, actually, in high school, we used to use that for warm-ups some days.
Oh, yeah?
We'd play, both of those. We'd play dodgeball, we'd play tag some days to warm up, because it got the heart pumping, definitely. It was fun, got people excited to go out and do stuff. But in college, we used tag too. You get a bunch of, 18 to 22-year-olds, give them a football field, and get two teams. You play flag, capture the flag. It gets intense really quickly. People are going all out, diving and tackling each other practically. It gets exciting. But one of the cool things, not cool, something we've been seeing a lot, and we see in here is kind of issues with knees. A lot more high school kids are getting meniscus tears, getting different ACL, MCL.
Tendinitis is huge.
Those kind of issues. And one of the things that I've seen some kind of writings on in different medical journals, fitness blogs, is talking about how the elimination of games like tag and dodgeball in lower level kind of pre-K, elementary school, middle school, how that might be adding to these issues, because we're no longer introducing these cutting activities to kids at a young age, and at a young age especially, introducing those sorts of games is important to building up the strength and the flexibility in the knees.
That's a really interesting theory, because you don't see any kind of valgus knee issues in infants and toddlers.
Right.
If you ask it, or if you're not asked, you're not going to ask them to squat. But if you see them squat, right, you don't have that knee caving in or the ankle rolling in.
Yeah, great form.
Yeah, it's terrific. I wish I could squat like that. And if they have this, they have no issues, and then you kind of see as they get older, they start developing, and where does that come from? Where do these issues? And for those of you who don't know, a valgus knee, the knee that rolls in when you squat, when you jump. Side note on that, real quick. I know I'm kind of taking these degrees away from the topic.
That's what this is for. This is what podcasting is for. It's for, we're going down this path. Oh, here's another path. Let's wander down that way. Oh, that has another path too. That's what it's for.
It's true. So, have you seen the RG3? I guess it was a picture I saw, but they have a video of him at the NFL Combine 2 years ago, vertical jumping, and his knees are touching each other as he goes into the crouch for his vertical jump. And
you could have seen him having knee issues.
Yeah, 2 ACL surgeries. That's really, really interesting. But this valgus knee is the #1 indicator for an ACL injury. And if you see someone who has a valgus knee when they're squatting, when they're jumping, if they haven't had an ACL injury yet, if they don't fix it, they will. It's such just a high marker for these tears. And there was a study done at University of Connecticut, which I kind of laugh at, because the idea and the premise and the setup was great. Right. So basically, they were able to predict off of the valgus knees for these athletes at University of Connecticut who would get an ACL injury. And they predicted to like the 95th percentile.
Oh.
But the thing is they didn't prevent the injuries. So they were just like, you, and you are all going to tear your ACLs. And then you, and you all tore their ACLs. And it's like, cool, we verified our hypothesis. But then you have 5 ACL injuries.
Yeah, wow.
So I thought it was something interesting. But then going back to what we were talking about, so it's an interesting theory you bring up, that the lack of cutting at a young age could add into this, because again, we see this gap, we see this difference from toddlers when they're squatting, and then as you get into being 9, 10, 11, 12, we'll start to see these issues pop up all over the place.
And of course, the greatest irony of this is that we're eliminating these activities in the name of safety.
Right, because
and it's like, what? So kids don't scratch their knees when they're 5 or 6, but they're going to end up having some pretty serious knee issues later on, maybe, that could have been prevented. It's the same with basically dunking kids in Purell and not letting them play outside in the dirt, all because there are all these yucky diseases and things out there, but instead we're just getting these super antibiotic resistant diseases, and all these kids who have a bunch of allergies because they were never exposed to things as a young kid. So I mean, this just gets into my kind of philosophy of things: is get dirty, get bloody at a young age, and you're gonna be
it prepares you mentally too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Life is not clean, and it's not.
No, absolutely.
It's not straightforward. So prepare yourself for it.
Absolutely. Raise your little children like they're Spartan warriors.
Exactly. I like that.
Yeah, have them. I think I'm gonna have those those Nerf swords. I can imagine just sitting at a dinner table, setting Thunderdome style, just having the two kids enter, one kid eats. Battle. Child Protective Services will be called the next day after that, I'm sure.
Yes, definitely. I think
but
you
you
should
can
stick to talking about NPR around the table with your kids.
Yeah, okay, fine. Let's be honest, that's what's really gonna happen.
You guys can talk about the theory of what you're saying.
Right, we'll talk hypothetically if
Yes.
we were to set, these...
Which one of your kids, which Andy doesn't actually have kids, so this conversation is hypothetical as well.
Right.
But which one of your two young Spartan boys would win over the giant steak that you went and killed earlier?
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games.
I like it. Cool, man. I think that does me for today in terms of things I wanted to chat about. Do you have anything else that's been bouncing around?
I think we hit on everything. It was a good pod, bro.
Absolutely. That's my go-to. Good pod.
That'll be our new tagline.
Oh, I hope not. We need to come up.
I kind of like it.
It's so cliche.
How about sweet pod, bro?
Sweet pod, brah. Sweet pod,
there you go.
brah. Oh gosh, even worse. All right, well we'll come up. If you have any ideas for a catch tagline,
shoot us a tagline so we don't have to stick with the ones that we come up with.
Yeah, you can hit us up on the Sports Performance
CFDR Sports Performance on Facebook. That would be actually the best way to reach out to us. And then you could also email me, Rob, at CrossFitDoneRight.com.
Right. That's Rob Koebke. I'm Andy Holmes, and we are the Varsity Strength Geeks signing out.
Later, guys.